Well, if we learned anything this summer, it's that left-wing politicians suck. Everywhere they go, they ruin things. Portland, Seattle, SF, Minneapolis. You know, it reminds me of those public service ads meant to scare people off crystal meth. There's a before picture of an all-American sweetheart. And then there's the after picture, the same girl as a blemished junkie. It worked on me. That's what happens to towns under Democrats. A gem of a city becomes a decrepit mess, which shows that cause and effect is still in effect. Democrat leaders tell the police they can't stop looting. What do you get? More looting. Those same leaders publicly blame the police in times of crime. What do you get? More crime. Some New York police officers were just attacked during a peaceful march in support of the police. One of the victims was the NYPD chief of department, who had recently knelt before protesters. What does that tell you? That some people won't take no, hell, even yes, for an answer. But the police don't exist to kneel, but to preserve law and order. You take that away, what's left? Cause and effect. And so as crime explodes in NYC, thankfully, black leaders now call on the police to bring back the recently disbanded anti-crime unit. These 600 undercover officers were supposed to get illegal guns off the street, but they were taken off the street instead. Now you see a murder rate year on year more than doubling and shootings up 45%. Cause and effect. Now you'd expect a mayor or the media might predict the effects of a slashing of the police budget, openly disrespecting cops or fueling disinformation to undermine our trust in the law. But they didn't. You and I did. In one city, you saw a 400% jump in retirement. Meanwhile, 2 Texas police officers were ambushed and murdered. Now, that may not be cause and effect, but the point is to show you how little that violence is actually covered. The police in Texas and Oklahoma and elsewhere have been targeted, but the media prefers to see the police as sharks and everyone else as swimmers. But the visual evidence of the destruction grows as the media ignores citizens' pleas. As gang violence spikes, the media dismisses it by saying, it's just poor neighborhoods. It's been around forever. It's like the Dems refuse to disown violence, which puts the media in a tough spot. If you want the Democrats to win in November, you can't cover this violence at all because then Trump will win. So they don't cover it. Instead, they go after a can of beans.
You tell me how a president in the middle of a pandemic has got time for this. Are you kidding me? Hawking products, Goy, I don't care who it is. Resolute desk in the middle of a pandemic. They're selling beans.
Forgive me, but I don't think he might be the right guy to talk priorities.
In scale, this was the actual swab that was being used to fit up that double-barrel shotgun that you have mounted on the front of your pretty face.
Yes. This as his brother stalked rest homes with fresh COVID patients that killed thousands. But CNN loves to dismiss actual death in favor of theater. Remember mocking the murder rates in Chicago and New York?
Democratic cities are in chaos right now. Is this what you want from Joe Biden? And they're going to take your country away, and they're taking down the statues. And
crime is rising as they defund police.
Oh my gosh, it's so bad. And they get defunding police. It's like,
oh my, I love that voice. To recap, a can of beans, very upsetting. An increase in murder, no big deal. Oh, to be part of a chorus that dismisses real suffering. We watched the riots and the media said nothing to see here. We watched the looting, the media said nothing to see here. An increased body count in Chicago and New York, nothing to see here. But did you see Mary Trump's new book? Holy cow, Donald had someone do his SATs. So what is it about these repetitive dismissals? What are its functions? Could it be that manipulating such narratives preserves conflict, which keeps the media in business? As we see our country barrel towards some grim climax, remember who the travel agent was. It's the media. When Trump said fake news was the enemy of the people, that might be the most important truth since like forever. I mean, look at what the media has managed so far. A biased framing of law enforcement amplified now to a universal chorus. It isn't anarchy, it's a man-made dismantling driven by a media ginning up hate against cops and enabling lawlessness. Which leads me to a question. Where's the plan by those who wish to tear down the system? It's there. Their plan is tear down the system. The alternative to law and order? No law, no order. But I hand it to America. We've been patient, law-abiding all throughout this. America basically is a jumbo 747, and the violent Antifa anarchists are the drunken seat 24F. For a while, we, the other passengers, averted our eyes and tried to ignore everything, but it just gets worse. As the drunk accosts other passengers, manhandles a flight attendant, until finally 2 or 3 passengers have had enough. They pull him out of his seat, stuff a sock in his mouth, and tie him to the toilet in the back. It might happen, which is why we need our leaders first to stand up and protect our communities and to work with the police. Because if they don't, the thin blue line will vanish, leaving all of us to fend for ourselves.